There's a day coming that you'll be completely alone. Not lonely, alone. And I don't think anyone's ever told you that's allowed to be okay. Maybe you don't have anyone in your life right now. Maybe you're surrounded by people but feel like none of them actually understand you. Maybe it's some combination of both. Either way, there comes a time where you'll find yourself completely alone. For most people, it's one of the hardest stretches they'll ever go through, but it doesn't have to be. And in some strange way, the person you become because of this is often the reason you can look back and understand why it had to happen in the first place. There's an important difference worth naming here because alone isn't just one thing. There's the alone that comes from genuinely having nobody around, a new city, a lost friend group, a season where the people you normally lean on just aren't there anymore. And then there's the alone that happens in a crowded room, surrounded by people, maybe even people who genuinely care about you, but still feeling like nobody actually sees you. That kind is quieter, and honestly, it can be heavier, because from the outside, nobody would even guess you're carrying it. Both are real, both count, and most people go through some version of at least one of them at some point, whether they ever say it out loud or not. As humans, we're wired for connection, and that's not weakness, but just rudimentary biology. Humans have survived this long partly because we're not built to do everything alone. So when you find yourself in a genuinely isolated stretch, it's going to feel wrong on a level deeper than just, this is inconvenient, this is annoying, this sucks. It's going to feel like something's actually missing because something is. That's worth naming plainly instead of pretending like it doesn't hurt. It does. Loneliness is a real physical kind of discomfort, not just a mood. But here's the part that doesn't get said enough. A stretch of genuine aloneness, as hard as it is, tends to strip away a lot of noise you didn't even realize was there. When nobody's around to perform for, you find out pretty quickly who you actually are underneath all the versions of yourself you've been showing other people. You find out what you actually think, not what you think out loud to keep a conversation moving. You find out what you actually want, separate from what impresses whoever happens to be in the room. That's uncomfortable. It's also incredibly clarifying. A lot of people go their whole lives without ever really knowing themselves outside of how they show up for other people. A period of being alone, whether you asked for it or not, can force that knowledge into existence a lot faster than comfort ever would. There's a subtle but real distinction worth learning here because it changes everything about how this period feels. Being alone is a fact. Being lonely is a story you tell yourself after that fact. You can be alone and genuinely at peace, fine with your own company, using the quiet productively, actually enjoying who you're becoming in the process. Or you can be alone and in real pain, treating every quiet moment as proof that something's wrong with you. The circumstances can look identical from the outside. The internal experience is completely different depending on which story you're telling yourself about why you're alone in the first place. Now, none of this means you're supposed to stay alone forever, or that connection just doesn't matter, or that you should tough it out solo indefinitely. That's not the point here. The point is that if you're in the stretch right now, it's not automatically a sign that something's broken in you. Sometimes it's just a season, one that ends up teaching you something you'll actually need for the relationships and connections that come later. The version of you who comes out the other side of a genuinely hard alone stretch usually knows himself better, and as a result, tends to build better connections than the version who never had to sit with himself in the first place. If this stretch is genuinely weighing on you, that's worth talking to someone about too, though. A friend, family, or a professional if it's heavy enough. Getting through this doesn't mean doing it in total silence. So if you find yourself alone right now, genuinely alone, or even alone in a room full of people, it's not proof that something's wrong with you. It might just be the stretch where you finally get to find out who you actually are without anyone else's opinion getting in the way first. That person is worth meeting. See you in the next one.